Everyone, I'm Teacher Dave, and welcome to the very first episode of Speak English Wonderful World Stories. This podcast is about real people, real stories, and real English. Each episode, you will meet someone from around the world and hear natural conversations about culture, work, travel, and life. Along the way, you'll pick up phrases and ideas that help you speak more clearly and understand the world more deeply. The goal here is simple: help you talk to the world without fear. So, without further ado, let's meet today's guest, Sir Pedro. He's been with us for over a year and has become an integral part of what we do at Wonderful World English. And I'm really happy he's joining us for our first episode. Now, to you, Pedro, welcome.
Good morning, Dave, or good evening to you.
How are
How's it
you
going?
doing?
Great, great. It's
Very
Tuesday.
good.
Relaxed.
Tuesday, yeah, not a bad day of the week. Better than Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell us about yourself, Pedro. So, of course, I know you. People watching this may know you, but there'll be people out there who have no idea who is this guy, Pedro. So just
Yeah.
introduce yourself. Tell us about who you are, where you're from.
So people in community know me as Teacher Pedro. I am originally from Serbia. Like Chinese people, I have a Serbian name, but it's very difficult to pronounce. It's a very strange name. So it's not very international. So I've chosen Teacher Pedro as a most common biblical name, as you want, if you want it, a name that is easy for everyone to pronounce. So I am originally Serbian. I was actually Yugoslavian because technically I was born in Yugoslavia. Then the big country fell apart, and I I stayed living in Serbia, in Belgrade. I lived there all my life. Created few businesses. Then I in 2020 I was traveling around, got stuck in Brazil during the pandemic, the coronavirus, and I liked it really here. So I stayed. When Brazil was separating themselves from Portugal, the same thing happened with their prince. At that time, he came here to Brazil, and then he said there is a famous saying, "I came here to stay." And I like to quote that because it's like the same life path. Let's say it like that.
Love that. And I wanted to ask, when you say that, two different worlds, really, isn't it? Brazil and Serbia. What for you is the biggest thing that's different about living in those places? Like, if you go to Brazil, what's one thing that's just so different from Serbia, other than the weather? Don't say the weather.
Like what would be a cultural shock, what people say, right?
Yes, a culture shock, exactly.
Well, actually, Serbians and Brazilians by mentality are not that different. We both live in a very warm climate. Serbians only lack a coastline,
Hmm.
but other than that, the way people think, the way people function, both nations are very heartwarming, very welcoming people, very friendly people. So there are not a lot of things that shocked me, but there are some things that I found, let's say, maybe inappropriate. I will explain. I will be as short as possible. In Europe, we usually take showers once a day. Usually when you get up, you take shower, then you go to work. Here, people don't think about how many times you will get a shower. If you're feeling hot, the best way to cool down is take a cold shower. And I found that coming from this European background where we're more sensitive on the ecology and environmental issues, I found that a little bit strange because the biggest potable water reserve that we have on Earth is Amazon. And
Hmm.
I sometimes tell them as a joke, you're the guardians of our potable water and you're using it brainlessly, really brainlessly. So I know people that take like 6, 7 showers a day. And I think that's a little bit irresponsible, but okay. it's a freedom
You
of
could,
choice.
or you could look on the other side and say that people in Brazil smell better if they're
Actually,
showering that
statistically,
much.
only people. I think we Brazilians are actually the people who take most showers daily.
Yeah,
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 first on
interesting.
the
And
list.
I just want to go back to the point you said about Brazilians and Serbians just being quite similar in their personality. I see them as very open, like friendly people, both on the Serbian side and the Brazilian side. And of course, within the community, we've got people from Brazil, people from Serbia. And even though it's on a completely different part of the world, still really lovely people. And I think that's awesome. Now, I just want to ask you about your teaching, Pedro, because like you said, you had businesses before. What kind of inspired you to shift from the business side of things to the more teaching side of things? And I'll ask you another comparison. How do you compare the two? Like what's the biggest difference between the two for you?
Hmm. Okay, so I had two businesses in Serbia: travel agency and advertising agency. And my, let's say, formal education is political science. So one part of my life, I was also in a political party, and these two things plus the education gave me, let's say, the way the wide possibilities of things that I know, do, or I need to know and do. So if you're in advertising and you have a client from hospitality, and you have a client from personal hygiene and care, and you have a client from I don't know, tech sales like Apple or things like that, you need to know a little bit about home care products, about personal care products, how much of a hydrant cream is in a Dove soap, how a front desk works in a big hotel like Crown Plaza, and why Apple is, for example, deleting all their previous videos from previous models from YouTube and social
Mm,
media, and there is only one that can be actual, the one that is in the stores. So this gave me the big perspective, but also some, let's say, wrong life choices brought me on a path where I was looking for my solution of my existential situation.
mm,
In plain English, looking for a money or a salary. And I tried many things. I even have a book published on Amazon, a children's book, because when this happened, it was also the moment when AI started to emerge. And I was like, okay, let's try this. I will write a book with AI. I will make a cover. I will make a few illustrations. So it's a children's book. It's 30 pages, nothing special. I just wanted to see how Amazon works, for example. So
yeah.
I was trying here and there. I have that I have a dropship store, which also was an attempt to find the exit from this situation. And so I was sending my CV to left and right, up and down,
Yeah.
everywhere. And then I never thought about it, but but I'm speaking English since I was 5, right? And I thought I speak it pretty good. Why wouldn't I try to, at least I can do it with kids, things like you worked in a kids school. You know that these classes are not complicated. There is no grammar, just yellow,
Yeah.
red,
Very.
yeah. So yeah, that kind of English I can teach, right? So I applied in this school. They didn't ask for any of these certifications that you need normally as a teacher.
Mm,
So they gave me a chance. Okay, the salary was low, but at that point there was no really a choice. And one student, second student, I started applying my skills that I learned in business negotiations, all these things that I picked up here and there. I was already speaking Portuguese. It was my 5th year here, so I could I could take students that are not speaking English and communicate with them in a good manner. And that's how it started. Then after 6 months, I met you, and thank you for that.
wow. Thank you so much for sharing that, Pedro. And from in those moments in your life where things just don't feel like, even hopeless, but here you are, man. And it's so great to see you. And it's been such a pleasure to know you these past few months, like over a year now. And long may it continue because anyone watching, the first episode will be watched by guys within our community, and they know just how far it's come these past few months. And you've been a very big part of that. And I know that a lot of that is not just from your great personality and dedication to improve, but also from your experience from before, whether it's in Serbia or in Brazil. And it's been a real pleasure. And I wanted to ask you about your English because you say you've been speaking it from the age of 5, which is awesome. Like, I think it gives you a big advantage if you learn from childhood. But of course, that doesn't mean you can't learn older. Just might be a little bit more difficult because you've got less free time or something like this. But you know, a lot of what we do is about confidence, about fluency, about speaking, even if you make mistakes, and keep going, not trying to be perfect, but just trying to improve every day, one step at a time. Is this something that you did naturally in the past, or is this something that you came to yourself? Like, did you ever struggle with speaking English confidently, or was it something that you just kind of found quite easy to do?
Well, there is a difference when you're learning something as an adult and when you're learning something as a kid, definitely.
Mm, mm,
Especially when you're a kid, you really don't think about the use or utility that it will be in a life further on, even though all your parents, your older friends, they say, oh, no, 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 I don't know, for today, learn programming or learn IT, learn languages, it will help you in life. But you're a kid, you just want to play, you just want to fool around. Really, the book is the last thing you're thinking about. But in, let's say, in the poverty of Eastern Europe, the good thing, or where we were lucky, is that foreign movies were not synchronized or dubbed. They were only
mm.
coming with subtitles. So when you're a kid, you have to read and you have to listen to a movie. And this is where I picked up my first words. I even remember the first movie that I watched is this comedy from 60s. It was called the Ball of Vampires, or yeah, I think it's the
Mhm.
Ball of Vampires. It's about the vampire castle and some guys dropping in accidentally to the party without realizing they are in the vampire castle. I think it's Peter Sellers or some of these old actors. And I picked up words like, okay, vampire is very similar in Serbian vampir. So it's not a really difficult word, but castle is some of the words, cannon,
Mm.
snow, things like that, that you just pick up some random words. Then my dad found a private school. I went there, but I don't remember a lot of things from that period, right, from the school. But
No.
this is something that I always also tell to my students: try to, if you don't have opportunity, at least to immerse yourself into day-to-day life in English. But there are other ways now, especially in the internet era. First of all, turn off your dubbing on Netflix or whatever platform you may use. Listen to some pop music or foreign music, English music, things like that. Podcasts are now great. So find your niche, find the subject that you're interested in, and this passive learning, or just play it in the car. You don't even have to think about the content that's going on. That's going on the radio. You will pick up words by just listening. So this is the great thing. On the other hand, not learning grammar, or not learning grammar with intentionally, like you would do when you're an adult. There is this funny story. It was 2010, so I was like 25, 26 years old, and I started living in Belgrade with my roommate. Was a girl who, she was also Serbian. She left Serbia like when she was 5 or 6. She left for the States, and she came back because she was like, States are not good for our Serbian mentality. I like Belgrade. I like this rawness, friendliness. Americans are cold. I don't like it there. So she came back, and I was living with her in the apartment, and her Serbian was really, really bad because she grew up there.
Oh,
And
okay.
we were, our day-to-day conversations were in English, right? And maybe a year after we started living together, she said, "Will you stop doing that?" I was like, "Doing what?" And she said, like, using did in the past tense and then adding ed at the end of the verb. So I was 25. I didn't know that I cannot say I did learned this yesterday. So I was like, oh, I never realized that this is a wrong way to say it. And I said, no, just pay attention when you use did. You don't need d at the end of the verb. You use infinitive. And so even when you're not aware, and she had a really good tolerance level because she was listening to me saying it wrongly for almost a year. But
Ah,
I'm really grateful to her because she made one of the, I think you would agree, basic mistakes, right? Something really that you
well,
learn at the beginning, past simple tense.
well, it's easy to make them, and even advanced speakers sometimes fall into old habits, and it's why it's important to go over the basics and the fundamentals sometimes as to not slip into those. But you just stumbled on a couple of really strong points. I'll go to the first one about immersion, about being in an immersive environment. Of course, we try to do that online with Wonderful World English, but I'll say to anyone, if you want to improve your English, if you want to speak and understand, you need to surround yourself in the language, not just learn a little bit here, a little bit there. It's like, no, you want to be absorbing it as much as possible. Of course, it's much easier, or at least there's a big advantage for those living in an English speaking country. But just little things around the home, putting your phone in English, small little things can have a big difference. So that immersion's so important. That's absolutely true. And the other thing about you making this mistake and then your friend after 1 year saying, "Can you stop doing that?" She would have known from the first time that you did it, but
For sure.
she would have felt uncomfortable. She wouldn't have wanted to upset you or offend you. Children don't care as much. They make a mistake. Sometimes you get the odd kid that does feel, you can see they get a little embarrassed. But with adults, it's much more of, I think, sometimes ego, but sometimes they think, oh, they start to doubt themselves more, Oh, then they start to think my English is not good. And that creates a downward spiral. But I think what we do so well is that we acknowledge all the good things and say, this is one thing to fix. Just focus on that one thing, fix that, then move on. And if you do that consistently, you transform. It's not like just one day you're going to wake up and be speaking like a native speaker. It doesn't work like that. It's a journey, it's a process. But it's like right there in that moment, who would have thought that years later you would now be helping other adults with this same kind of thing? But you're not waiting 1 year to do this. You do it every day that they post a task or they come to a session or they ask for feedback. And I think, yeah, that's just one thing I've learned being a teacher, being a fluency coach is like, I don't like correcting people all the time because you don't want to upset them, but you realize that it's a necessary part of growth and that you're doing them a service by doing it. And your friend did that for you there, even if it did take a year.
Yeah, and interestingly, she's also a TESOL teacher, so she
Oh,
for
okay.
sure identified that in the first conversation. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to be correcting someone all the time either if they're like a friend. Like, as you know, I live in China. My wife is Chinese. She doesn't have perfect English. And if she says something wrong, like I understand her, that's the goal here. But if say there's a grammar thing, I don't want to be constantly like, oh no, you should say it like this, you should do this, that. It's just as long as we can communicate clearly, that's the goal. Then if you want to polish these things, do that. But as you know, Pedro, what is it? It's speak first, fix it later. Be clear, that's the goal. Confident, fluent. And that's what we do. That's our bread and butter, isn't it? Really interesting to learn about that, Pedro, and the movie as well. Like that
And
just sounds like
also,
the
I
most.
would just like to add one point: not only friends and people you don't want to offend them. In case of our students, if you correct someone too much, they could start losing motivation and
Yeah.
they will start thinking less of themselves. I have students I know in learning, especially in adult world, there are a lot of things that influence your life daily, right?
Yeah.
Problems at work, problems in family, problems, la 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 la, problems. So I have students come. tired, they come tired on a class. And I see when somebody is tired and they know the word, but they cannot remember and they say, "Oh, I'm so stupid." I say, "No, you're not stupid. You're just tired. Obviously you just finished your work at 6 p.m. You don't speak, you don't think in your language properly, not in a foreign language." So I think that's important thing, not to discourage people
So
to
true.
give up.
So true. Like stress, energy levels, all of these things going on in your life, that will affect performance in anything. Language for sure, because if it's not your native, even if it's your native language, you're not going
Yeah.
to be speaking with as much energy, with as much enthusiasm, clarity, if you're exhausted or if you're super stressed. So that's a really important thing to consider. Yeah, really good point. Moving away from the language
And
subject.
no one has a learning of a language as a first or second priority in life, right? Your first priorities are things that are day to day, and language is something that is a bonus. So
Yeah.
that should people have always in mind. Oh, this is like going to the gym, right?
Yeah,
I always compare it
exactly.
like this.
That's what I was going to say. It's just like going to the gym, and that if you're consistent, you transform, but you don't see it overnight. And it's almost like the gym for your mind, isn't it? But from it comes more opportunities, more chances to network, more chances to learn, and more confidence and more self belief, I think, comes from building those language skills as well, especially in English, where, as you know, so many opportunities around the world in this language. And I do
For
feel
sure,
really, yeah,
a
I feel,
totally new world opens when you start speaking just any second language. Totally new world
mm,
appears. There are
changes the way
some
you
of these
think.
sayings, right? How many languages you speak, that's how many people you're worth.
Now I want to go to something about you, because I know you have traveled around the world. You're well traveled. You've got done around Europe, done Asia, South America. Like, if you could just choose one place that stands out to you as the most incredible, amazing place that you've ever been, where would you say and why?
That's really difficult. Okay, can I divide it? Like, if you're looking for culture, architecture, beauty,
Mm,
things like that, go to Paris or Barcelona. If you're looking tranquility, peace, let's say passive vacation that recharges you, beach, things like that, go to Asia. I wouldn't know specific place now. Maybe Phuket is a little bit touristic for me, but I went on the island in Vietnam. I forgot now the name of the island. It's really still undiscovered, and
oh,
you will find tranquility and peace. So Asia for the recharge, and something in Europe, nice European city for. Brazil is also amazing because it's such a huge country. You can find everything here from rainforest to deserts. But again, depends on the traveler, depends on a person,
mm.
what you're looking for at the moment.
That's
City break,
absolutely true, isn't
Paris.
it? Depends on what you're looking for. But I know you did travel business before, and I'm sure people go all over for different reasons. When you said about Asia, namely Vietnam and like the paradise, I know there's islands around there. It reminds me of a funny story when I went to Cambodia. This was right when COVID was then kicking off. So we were like, it was supposed to be like a 1 week holiday, but it became like a 6 week refuge just to avoid China.
Inferno.
Yeah, just avoiding the lockdowns. But anyway, I'm there with my now wife, but at the time we just started like seeing each other. And there's a place called Kiev Island. It's this tiny little island, like no one would have heard of it. But you can get a boat and go onto this island just off the coast of Sihanoukville in Cambodia. So it's like the beach area. And you're just on this island, and there's like a little shack. They've got a few little places you can sleep overnight, but really small, undeveloped, like just a little island. Beautiful. But there's just a big British guy there with curly hair drinking a beer. And I'm just there buying a drink, and he's next to me, and he goes, he's just like, hello, like we start talking. And he was like, how did you find the island? I'm like, well, we just saw it like advertised somewhere. We thought we'd come. And I said, what about you? He goes, well, I looked at the world map and I saw Kiev Island and my name's Kev. So he came all the way from England, all around the world, to Kiev Island because his name's Kev. And it's not even Kiev. I didn't want to tell him. It was like chicken Kiev, it wasn't even the same word. And I just thought, legend. I thought, amazing. I love that,
Yeah.
just
If he's happy,
living the dream, living the dream on Kiev Island because my name's Kev. Yeah, always got a fond memory of Kiev Island.
but was he a little bit offended that other Brit came to his secret paradise? Or was it like that? Like, how did you?
Yeah, it just makes me laugh. The people you meet on your adventures, you meet some incredible people. Just some of them are funny, some of them are just like almost just like a deep, profound connection you can have with strangers when traveling. Traveling's awesome. I want to bring it now, Pedro, to let's just do some quick Q&A. I'm going to just ask you a question and you just tell me the first thing that comes to your head. We'll do a few of these and we'll start off with something nice and easy. So, Pedro, tea or coffee?
Neither Coke.
Coke. Okay. I see you drinking Coke there. You got it. Okay. Coke diet or regular Coke?
Regular.
Sugar or salt?
Sugar.
Metal or rap?
Rap.
Football or basketball?
Basketball. Come on, I'm Serbian.
True say. Grammar or confidence?
Sorry?
Grammar or confidence?
Confidence.
British or American accent?
British
careful
for
now.
formal occasions, American for informal occasions.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Study alone or with a group?
With a group after certain level, I would say.
Mm. Yeah. Like, why though?
Because when it comes to grammar, I think you should focus more on rules and memorizing some of these things. And when you go from this I don't know really, as you know, I'm not a trained professor. I'm more turned professor. So I don't know where these levels are actually starting and stopping, but I would say after 8, go with the group.
Yeah, I would say fair enough. Yeah, I think B1, some of the more higher B1, if you've got the basics covered and you can speak and you can hold a conversation, then when you're in a group, that's when your confidence and fluency skyrockets. But below that level, it's overwhelming. Get the basics. I'll get so many people come to me, they want me to teach them, but they're just starting out, A1, even A2. I'm like, look, you're best off getting a teacher who can speak your native language so they can explain things that you can understand, then move on to the fluency, to the confidence. Yeah, so I completely agree there.
Applications are also good for these beginners, just to
Yeah,
get repeating, and then you don't need Duolingo is pretty good for this. You
yeah,
can get through the A1 at least, I think, with Duolingo.
true. It's like that will train you to speak and to be able to say things, but if you want that natural speaking and be able to understand others and, not freeze when you speak, you do need to do that with real people. And so there's pros and cons to both. But absolutely, if you want to go over the basics, Duolingo's an excellent app, and there's some other good ones as well. Homework or no homework?
I would say no homework if you have self-discipline to do some things, as we spoke earlier, podcasts, watching movies, listening to the
Mm,
songs. If you have 2 classes per week, then homework is good thing to keep student involved and in training. Let's call it like that. So just to have this rhythm steady.
yeah. Awesome. Okay. And a funny class or a serious class?
Depends on the student.
Hmm. Yeah, it depends on what you're learning as well, doesn't it? That's quite a difficult one. On that note though, I wanted to ask you after the quick fire questions, just one last you've been with Wonderful World English for over a year now. And do you have one standout memory of this was the best moment or memory that you've had in your time teaching and guiding and motivating and adding value and all of that? What was the one standout moment for you?
And it's very difficult to say. There are few, because people maybe watching don't know, we have different modules, different types of sessions. So
Yeah.
I would say first karaoke session was probably one of the memorable moments. There were some sessions while we were still moving around time slots, and there were moments where only one student will join, and for 1-2 weeks, this one student would join on this session only. So these were Nola and Javaria, and I really had nice conversations with them that were not about the subject that we had that week, but about life generally,
Mm, mm.
philosophy, religion. When you're alone in a on one-on-one, you can be a little bit more relaxed. Um, and I still remember my first session actually in the community in Wonderful World English. It was with Soko. That was the
Yeah.
first person I met in the community, and I'm really, I cannot say sad, but heartbroken that she is not participating anymore, because she is a very interesting person and she has a lot of interesting stories. And it would be really nice to find her and try to involve her into this podcast,
I agree.
because
Yeah.
her story is very, very interesting.
She was lovely, really nice. And she was like, her English was almost, I would say, native level. And that she really joined us, not even so much for the language. It really was just for the connection that she wanted to meet people and just build confidence. And like, she just did that so well. And unfortunately, she had to, I think she went back to Africa, I believe. It's been a while now, but hopefully we can find what happened to Toko, because she was amazing. And
Yeah.
as you said, with a few names you just mentioned, and we've got so many incredible people in the community. And, this is episode 1, Pedro. So glad to have you doing this. And I look forward to
Well, we
doing
broke
this.
the ice.
Yeah, we've got so many wonderful people lined up that we can find out their story as well. But Pedro, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. And before we wrap this up, do you have any final words, any encouragement, any reflection, anything you'd like to say before the end?
Well, for the people who are starting learning English, don't be afraid, don't be shy. It's it's in you, and I will now sound like my father, but only the geeks win the world. So if you study and you are involved, a lot of opportunities will open for you, not just job wise or career wise, professionally, but you will meet people around the world. Wherever
Mm.
you go, as you said, there are interesting people, very funny people, friendly people. Somebody asked me the other day in the community, is there any did you have any bad experience on your trips? I never had any bad experience, and there is no place on this earth where I went where I wouldn't go again
Oh, I love that.
if
I love
somebody
that.
pays the ticket.
No, that's really awesome. Just and it's so true. Like, not just about the prospects. It is. I see the motivations. People come to me. They've all got different reasons. Some are living in native English speaking countries, just makes life easier. But some want to study at the best universities in the world. Some just want to travel. Some want to network. Some want to grow their business, have more clients. And of course, this is the skill to do that, the English language. And it's wonderful to hear all of that, your story, insights, reflections. You have been an incredible guy this past year since I've known you, and I really can't wait for the next year and beyond, Pedro. Thank you so
Likewise.
much for coming.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
We'll wrap it up. Take care now. Bye bye. Bye bye.